Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet. Let us continue with the chapter Diversity in Living Organisms. In the earlier session, I have discussed about the subclassification of kingdom Plantae, and also we have discussed about the criteria which is used to subclassify the plants or to classify the plants into subgroups. Right, so initially these plants they are divided into two subkingdoms, and that is cryptogams and the phanerogams. Cryptogams means what? Those plants which are in which the reproductive parts are hidden or inconspicuous, and this group includes three divisions. What are they? They are thallophyta, bryophyta, and pteridophyta. Whereas the another one, that is phanerogams, these are the seed bearing plants, right? And they are subclassified into two divisions, that is gymnosperms and the angiosperms. In today's session we are going to discuss the basic features of these divisions. So let us begin with the first division, that is thallophyta. So here is the division thallophyta, and this word, that is thallophyta, is comprised of two parts. There are two terms in this word, that is thallus and the phyta. Thallus means stalk-like, or it means undifferentiated, and phyta is of course it is related to plant, it means the plant. Fine. So this particular group, or we can say that plants of this group are most primitive and the simplest one on this planet. That means they are the most simple plant which are existing on this planet. These organisms, they are commonly known as multicellular algae. They are actually living together as a colony, or I can say that they are living together as a group, but they are not having the organized system in them. They are simply living as leading their life at a cellular grade only. There is no developed system over there. Fine. So in this flowchart, I have just summarized the basic properties which are present in this group, which is present in the organisms of this group. So number one is that these primitive organisms, they are having the undifferentiated body. If you remember, the very first criteria so as to subclassify the kingdom Plantae is the differentiation of body parts. So this first criteria is used here, and I can say that thallophytes, they are not having the organized or the differentiated body. Fine. And what is meant by this particular term, this particular thing is that it means that the particular organs are not present, like stem, roots, or the leaves. And for the other parts, of course, like fruits or vegetables or the flowers or anything, they are not found in these types of plants. So they are simply, now you can understand how they must be existing. They are just living as a group of cells. Next thing is that these group of cells, they are aquatic. They are predominantly found in the aquatic region. And this aquatic region, it can be either fresh water, or it can be a marine water or the saline water. Right. It may have a different habitat in terms of its salt concentration. Fine. There are some exceptions also. The exception is like some organisms may be terrestrial. But even if they are present on land, they are generally found in the high moist area, or where there is high humidity. Otherwise, on the dry land, this group is never found. Next property in this group is that they all are autotrophic. So, well, all the plants, all the organisms that comes in the kingdom Plantae, they all are autotrophic. But you know why I am mentioning this point here for this group? The reason is, of course, they are able to synthesize their own food, and this property is, of course, due to the presence of the specific plastids. The plastids which are having the photosynthetic pigments. Right. Now, usually, the main pigment which is involved in the process of photosynthesis is which one? It is chlorophyll. But here in this group there are different types of plastids. There are different types of chromoplast actually, which are having different pigments, and thus they provide different colors to this particular algae. Got my point? And that is why if I relate this autotrophic property with the plastid, then there occurs or the pigments come into consideration, and which provides the information that these organisms, they vary in the color. Otherwise, the plants, they are of course green in color. The stem part or the young stem or young shoot, that is usually green in color. Of course, the bark region is definitely deep brown in color, and that is because of the dead tissue, right? So initially the different colors which are found in higher plants is limited to certain parts, but here the entire colony can be observed with the uniform or the particular color. Next important feature is that in these organisms vascular system is absent. Now, vascular system, I hope you understand it very well. You have studied the chapter tissues, right? And there you must have studied about the complex tissues, complex plant tissues, right? These complex plant tissues, they are helping in the coordination of different materials, or it helps in the transportation of material from one part to the another, right? And definitely in the higher plants these structures or these tissues are very well developed, but in the case of thallophytes vascular system is absent, and of course the body is undifferentiated, so even it is not required, but transportation should occur, the coordination, the communication should be there in these particular cells in the group, isn't it? And that type of purpose is sought out by the simple absorption or the diffusion processes. So in short, over here the xylem and the phloem tissues are exclusively absent. Next important feature is what? The property which is related to the reproduction. So in this case, reproduction is taking place through the spores. It occurs by the spore formation. And for your information, thallophytes are having unicellular spores. As the body is undifferentiated, so even the reproductive organs, they are also not present. But here these sexual bodies are just present in the form of a single cell. Moreover, these plants, they can also reproduce by the process of asexual method or by asexual mode of reproduction. In the case, for example, I can say by the method of fragmentation. There is a small part of this colony, and that can regrow into the entire new organism or the new entire colony. So further, since these reproductive organs or reproductive parts are absent, they are not able to produce the seeds, and these are known as the seedless plants. And this, because of this property, they are also known as the cryptogams, and of course they are not having the vascular system. So this thallophyta group belongs to which particular group? That is in common it is known as the non-vascular seedless plants. Now to explain you more about it, I can just show you some pictures. I will give you some examples so that these characteristic features becomes very clear to you. At least you are able to classify, or you are able to identify the plants which are present in your surrounding, that which group or which plant will come under this particular category, right? So here are the examples. The very first one is the Spirogyra, Eulothrix, Ulva, Chara, and so on, etc. There are so many different examples. I have just highlighted these 4 plants here. These Spirogyra or Eulothrix, as I said, they are aquatic, right? In rainy season or in the pond system or in the collected water, you might have seen some greenish colony developing over there. Am I right or wrong? You must have seen this. Even if not, observe it for the next time. You may found it. And over there, if you try to pick out the things, if you try to pick out these colonies, you will see that there is some filamentous sticky structure will come in your hand, and that sticky filamentous elongated structure, elongated colony is nothing but the Spirogyra. This is just one example I am giving you here. This Spirogyra, there are the specialty in this organism. You know what is the specialty of this organism? That of course it is elongated or filamentous in its structure, but the more important point is that that it is having the ribbon shaped this chloroplast. Can you see this diagram here? Here, can you see this structure which is present like this here? See, it will be more better if I highlight it. See, it is going like this. Up, down, then up and down. Can you see this green structure in this part? This green structure which is present here as a coil, it is nothing but the chloroplast. Besides this, of course, if you can observe it minorly, you can see these small dots over here. Or even if not, I can show you that how that is present. See, if this is the colony or this is the cell, I'm sorry. See, if this is like filamentous structure and it is like this, fine. And inside these cells, these are the individual cells which are living together here, fine. In this case, see, the chloroplast is present in this way, right? Like this. And in this chloroplast, there are some dot-like structures like this, which are present in the entire chloroplast. These structures, these dot-like structures, they are known as pyrenoid. You know, this question comes in your exam generally, that name the organism which is having the ribbon-shaped chloroplast. So that is nothing but the Spirogyra. Anyways, this pyrenoid, these are the granular bodies which are the regions or which are actually storing the different material of the plant, like proteins or amino acids. They are stored in the pyrenoids in this particular organism. So this is a specialty about the organism. Further, there are different examples. Eulothrix or Chara, you might have seen it. I'm not sure whether you are able to see or not. Definitely, if you try and if you observe, you can find it in the aquatic bodies, in the water bodies. So these are some of the examples and the information related to the group Thallophyta. Next, I will discuss about the next group or the next division, that is Bryophyta. So students, the next division is Bryophyta, and this name or this term is again comprised of 2 parts. Bryos, which means moss, and phyta, that means plants. And commonly plants that belong to this group are known as the bryophytes. These bryophytes, they are very small, multicellular, terrestrial and green colored plants. Now, if I'm saying that they are small, then by this what I mean is that that they grow for just few centimeters. They're just few centimeters tall. Now, what is this few centimeters? That means it is having this height of around 2 to 8 centimeters. And even if we proceed further, there is no bryophyte which can grow more than 12 centimeters. Generally, they are having the range of 2 to 8 centimeters, but exceptionally, some are there which can even grow up to 12 centimeters. Fine. Next thing is that they are terrestrial, and of course, terrestrial means they are living on land. The group prior to this that we have studied is which one? Thallophytes or the thallophyta. Now, thallophyta, they all are aquatic. Now, can you see this variation here? Right? Thallophyte, they are they are aquatic, and these bryophytes are now terrestrial. But these terrestrial plants, they are not growing in the dry condition. Although they are growing on land, but not in the dry condition. They are always growing in the wet conditions. That means they require high moisture, or they require means more amount of water for their growth. So now you can understand that although they are terrestrial, but they need high water content, and hence they are known as the amphibians. Amphibians of the plant kingdom. Now, amphibians of animal kingdom, you must be knowing about them. Those organisms or those animals which can live in water as well as on the land. They are amphibians. So these plants, since they are non-motile, they are not moving in these two habitats, in water and on the land. But for that, how they are growing? They are growing in the region where there is high water content. So can you think of such conditions where such condition is commonly available? Definitely, like on the side skirt, on the river fronts, or in the near these canals, or even on the walls. Sometimes you can see that wherever there is some moisture, some small plants are growing over there, isn't it? So such plants are bryophytes. So now let me come to the specific properties or specific characteristic features of this division. So these bryophyta, in them the body is differentiated now. Thallophytes, you remember, they are having undifferentiated body. So in this case, as the body is differentiated, into which part? It is in stem, leaf and rhizoids. See, these are the first group in which the differentiated body parts are present. So definitely they are not so well developed as compared to the higher plants, but here in this group the differentiation has actually started. So over here the stem is present as a stalk-like structure, or we can call it as the thallus-like structure. Fine. Then leaves are they may be present. There may be a single leaf over there, or there might be some multiple leaves over there. Besides that, this leaf is it may be fleshy or thick, right? Unlike the other leaves which are present in the higher plants. Besides this, roots are not very well developed. Instead of that, they are having the rhizoids. What are these rhizoids? Rhizoids are hair-like structures, or the roots which are present as fibers. That part is known as the rhizoid. I can show you one picture so as to clarify this point. See, these are the two pictures. One is Marchantia and the another one is Funaria. You can see that in this structure, in the first one, the leaf is something like fleshy like, isn't it? And here you can see that they are not having the well developed body exactly. They are having the stem or this thallus-like structure, and even the roots are not so well developed. You know how roots are appearing? Let me show you that also. See, this is the part, this is the detailed structure of the same plant, that is Funaria. Here you can see these small fibers or these hair-like structures. These are actually the rhizoids. So in Bryophyta, roots are present in the form of hair-like structures which are known as the rhizoids. Then body is basically what? It is thallus-like. The stem is not very well developed, but it is present in the form of thallus-like structure or stalk-like structure. And leaves, again, they are present, and they are not provided with the vascular system. They are not as developed as in the case of higher plants. Fine. Next point is that although these plants are having this differentiated body, and I'm saying that rhizoids are present instead of developed roots, and these leaves or stems, they are lacking the vascular system. There is no vascular system here. That means xylem and phloem are not developed at all in these plants. There are two things, initially as the evolution is proceeding, so they are actually present here in the simplified way only. The organs are very simple in this case, with respect to the evolution, if we consider that point. Alternatively, I can say that this vascular system is actually not required in this group. You know why? Because as I already said that these bryophytes, they are having a very short height. It is only up to 8 to 10 or 12 centimeters, not more than that. So for this much height, there is no need for the xylem or for the phloem tissues. In such conditions, the transportation can simply occur through the normal process or the simple process, that is absorption and the diffusion. So these rhizoids, they can absorb the material from the soil and they can transport it to these limited height or the parts which are present at a particular height in the plant. Fine. Next is that they do not bear seeds, and this is why they are known as the cryptogams. They are not having seeds, they are not having the flowers. Definitely seeds are not present, so flowers are also not expected to be present here, right? But in this case, definitely reproduction has to take place, isn't it? You know how the reproduction takes place in these plants? It is very interesting. It takes place through the spore formation. These organisms actually, they shows the alteration of generation. In this case, the spores are multicellular, and they are different from that which is present in the case of this thallophytes. Alteration of generation, it means that these organisms, they are growing in two different phases. There are two phases in the life cycle of these plants, and the one phase is known as gametophytic phase, the another one is known as the sporophytic phase. Let me show you the picture so that it is going to be more easy to understand. See, this is the structure, or this is the funaria. In this case, you can see that this initial or bottom part is known as the gametophyte. The upper part is known as the sporophyte. This bottom part, right, it is comprised of rhizoids. It is having this stem-like structure, and it is having the leaves, right? This part, basically, they are able to produce the gametes, and these gametes, when they fuse, they will form the zygote, and the zygote will then develop, or it will then germinate to form the upper structure, which is known as the sporophyte. This sporophyte, it is having three parts further, that is the foot. This foot helps in attaching or holding the structure or sporophyte with the gametophyte. Then there is another stalk-like structure which is known as the seta, and the upper part is present which is known as the capsule. So the gametophyte, it produces the gametes fuse, and they produces the zygote, which further develop or which forms the sporophyte. Now these sporophytes, they are able to produce the spores, and these spores further germinates so as to produce the gametophyte. So gametophyte produces the sporophyte, and sporophyte produces the gametophyte. This is how this life cycle is going on. In one phase, the gametophyte is producing the sporophyte, and in the alternative phase, the sporophytes are producing the gametophytes. So this is what the structure of this particular, or the reproduction, how it takes place in these plants. Well, the other feature is that these plants are terrestrial and they grow in the wet conditions. So, although I have mentioned this point earlier, but now further let me tell you that depending upon these wet conditions and its body differentiation, they are subclassified, or there are two types of bryophytes. Right? Let me tell you. Let me explain it with the help of one flowchart. So these two types, they are moss and the liverworts. So bryophytes, they can be either liverworts or the moss. The other types are also found like hornworts and all that. Let me concentrate on these two for you. Liverworts, they are very delicate and they die in the dry condition. So of course these, now you can understand that where and when they must be developing. Usually when there is a high water content in the environment, or there is high humidity or high water table, I'm sorry, the water level in the surroundings, right? So these type of plants, the liverworts, in them the body is flat and thallus like. This is what the specification for the liverworts. The examples are like Riccia and Marchantia. Whereas moss, they are of course they survive or they live in the wet conditions, but they are less sensitive to dry conditions. That means they can even tolerate the dry conditions, not a drought condition, not a very high, very dry condition, but yeah, yes, as compared to these liverworts, they are quite less sensitive to the dry conditions. They do not die in the dry condition. Fine. In this condition or in this type of plants, body is actually leafy and it is erect, as in the case of Funaria. So if I show you the picture, I hope it will be more easy to understand. And even when you look around, especially in the monsoon seasons or in the high water conditions, you can actually find out the difference between the liverworts and the moss. So here is the picture which I have already shown you earlier. This first picture is the Marchantia, and this Marchantia is a type of liverwort. You can see this structure here. It is very thick thallus-like structure, which is growing on grounds or in different regions wherever there is a high water content. Right. Next is the Funaria, which is a moss. And this moss, you can see that what type of structure it is having. This bottom leafy part is there, the stalk is there, and the upper part, this one is the Sporophyte, as I have shown you in the earlier diagram also, right? So these are the basic characteristic features as well as examples of bryophytes. Next we will discuss about the next division, that is pteridophyte. Pteridophyte, which is known as the vascular cryptogams. So we'll continue in the next session. Till then, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.